He's a good boy. Come here. He's a good boy. He's the best bird. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's the most kissiest kisses I think you've ever given me. Swipe it off on your dad's sweater. Hi. Oh, careful. Hello and welcome to the Tiny Human Knits podcast. My name is Laura and I'm coming to you from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, where I live with my boyfriend, our dog, our cat, and our rabbit. You can find me online as Tiny Human Knits on Instagram, Ravelry, Etsy, and YouTube, and I will have everything that I talk about and links to my social medias and such in the description down below. So usually everything I mention I try to link. Some things I just can't or forget. You know the drill. It is September 14th, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, September. Wednesday, September 14th. September seems to be going by at a ridiculous pace. More so, I know this is a complaint I probably say every time, it's going by really fast. It's been a really busy 2 weeks though, so I'm not particularly surprised. Yeah, I've got quite a few finished objects to show you. I have a couple finished objects that I don't have to show you because I've already sent them off in the mail, but I'll show you what I can. And if I took pictures, I think I did, I'll show them as well. Anyway, I am wearing the Vagard sweater by Arnie and Carlos at the moment. I knit this a couple years ago for my boyfriend, and it's a super nice sweater. I honestly would recommend 100%. It's not as hard to make as it looks. It is sort of a faux intarsia. It is pieced because you have to knit it flat, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do the pattern properly. Yeah, it's knit back and forth, which I don't mind. And you do a sort of, like I said, a faux intarsia. So you hold a strand of mohair with your main yarn for certain sections. You don't have to do any fancy like dropping a strand and picking it back up kind of thing. You just hold it in certain spots to make this beautiful design. It's honestly gorgeous. It's one of my favorite sweaters that I've made my boyfriend that I like to wear, and I really, really like it. I knitted out of Knit Picks Capra DK for the main color, and then I used Rowan Kid Silk Haze as the mohair. The mohair was great, quality's fantastic. Knit Picks Capra DK can go die in a hole somewhere. It pills like nobody's business. It's got cashmere in it, and the cashmere is trying to escape the whole time you're wearing it. So you do a little bit of friction and then you get a whole bunch of pills, and it's such a pain in the ass. I've been wearing this enough. My boyfriend wears it sometimes. I've been wearing it enough though that I'm kind of working the cashmere out of it slowly so it doesn't pill as quickly as it used to. So I'm hoping over time it'll just stop eventually, hopefully. But I really, really enjoy wearing it. I do have yarn to knit another one of these. I want to make it in a nice forest green. It's actually Knit Picks as well, but I think it's Knit Picks Wool of the Andes or something like that, in the forest heather. And then I want to hold like a cream colored mohair with it because I think that'll look really nice too. So, but that's one of my many, many plans that I have in my head of things that I want to make, and that can be done in the future. But I would suggest knitting it if you're at all interested. I'll again link it down below. I'm gonna move swiftly on to finished objects. First off, I did finish the baby sweater that I was knitting last time, the Fiola sweater, in the 6-year-old size. I did finish that. I will put a picture of it finished here, and I did package that up. It's in a box on its way to my cousin and her gaggle of kids. I also finished the quilt. I don't think I have a picture of that because it would not photograph because of the colors in it. It just would not come out properly. But like you saw most of what it looked like before. I did add a few ties to the quilt. Like I said, I was going to finish the binding and then I threw it in the washing machine. I always pre-wash quilts that I'm gifting because I don't want the first time somebody washes it for something to go wrong, because I have had a quilt that I made for my sister Dana. It was a very intricate quilt. I did throw it in the wash and one of the seams came undone after I'd had it quilted. So I threw a patch on it, but like I'm nervous of things like that or if it bleeds or anything like that, so I always pre-wash my quilts before I send them off. I know some people prefer not to. Anyway, so yeah, I threw that in the wash. It's now again in a box, folded up, on its way to my cousin, and I was really happy with it. I'm very excited to get to work on my version of that same quilt. I'll probably start working on it next week, to be perfectly honest, because I'm desperate for like pops of color in my living room now because it's starting to turn to fall, and the background color of that quilt, it's got a lot of like autumnal floral patterns, but the background is a mustard yellow, and I'm kind of hoping that works out as it does in my head. But I'm gonna try to actually finish that quilt top before the next time I talk to you guys. This is really long-winded. Those are two of my finished objects that I don't have, and I've got 4 other finished objects, but only one of them is knitting. So I'll show you the knitting one first. I finished, I have got stuff on there. I finished this pair of socks, and this colorway is called Dusk, and this will be in my shop on Friday, this coming Friday, September 16th at 1 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. This is a new colorway. There will be 6 new colorways. I will show you the rest of them at the end of the podcast if you're wondering. But this is one of them. It's my same very boring basic sock recipe. You've all heard it before. But yeah, this is my only other knitted finished object. But the other 3 that I have are, 1 is sewn and 2 are cross stitches. And I was actually pretty pleased with myself. I did my full spectrum of crafts these last 2 weeks. I've got knitting, crochet a little bit, cross stitch, and quilting, so that's pretty fun. But the first thing I'll show you is a table runner that I made for a new shelving unit that I have in my living room. It was kind of the last piece of furniture I needed for this room before it was kind of like done. But it's a cream color, and it's in the part of my living room, well, my living room's not big, it's right over there. It's sort of the focal point I want for my seasonal decor, so it's kind of covered in knitted pumpkins at the moment, and like a little cauldron I got from Michael's. So I wanted to make a table runner for the top of it, so I found this pattern. I think I already had it before, actually. It is called Pumpkin Run, and it is by Carried Away Quilting. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be a table runner, but I just changed a few things so it would suit my table. The pattern is by, again, Carried Away Quilting. Her name is, I just had it. Oh, Tanya Kelvington. I think on Instagram she's Tanya Lynn. I'll link that down below as well. I only have a black and white printer, so I'll put up a picture here of what it looks like in the pattern. But the one I made for myself, I made in a bunch of scraps of Halloween fabric that I have because I have a ton. And this is what it looks like. So I pieced it together. Again, it's just using scraps. It really, ooh, crap, frog in my throat. It really doesn't take much for fabric, really. And I did a bit of simple quilting on it after I was finished. And this is the back. So it took no time at all to finish piecing it together because it's so small. And then I cut out the back portion for the backing, and then for things like this that are this size or just decor stuff, I usually use a fusible batting So you kind of just sandwich all the layers together, and then you can just iron it, and it sticks to both the backing fabric and the top. And it just makes quilting it so much easier. You don't have to fuss with spray basting or pin basting or anything like that. And for something this size, I don't want to have to fuss really. So I just did some really simple quilting on the edges here, and then inside the star, and then inside the pumpkin. The pumpkins. And yeah, it fits on my table really, really well, and it's a great sort of just focal point thing. And this is a great base for me to use. I'm going to probably be making some Christmas ones and then just a winter one. Ideally, I'll make one for each season, but we'll see if I actually get around to that. It is very quick though, but I'm very happy with that. I'm gonna have to put that back on my shelf. And the next two finished objects are cross stitches. So the first one is from a pattern that I found on Pinterest. So I use Pinterest quite a lot for inspiration, a lot of times for colorways too. It's a great resource to find different combinations of colors. And just, I look at it a lot for knitting stuff and weird Lord of the Rings memes and things like that. But I found this pattern. It was just a single page graph thing. Ooh, I'm explaining this well. And it just had the recommended needle colors. Oh my god. It's the recommended colors, the DMC floss colors, in the comment of the post. Yep. So I just saved the picture. And this is it. It is a little pumpkin tree. So Pinterest is really a great way to find, there's a lot of free cross-stitch patterns that are kind of older ones that you can't find in print anymore. And sometimes people just post free ones. I try to make sure that they're not like paid for ones that people just copy and then put onto Pinterest. But it's a pretty good resource for finding kind of, oh, what is the word for this? Is it primitive? Yeah, I think like primitive cross-stitch designs, because that's the ones I really like for decorating. But I put it, oops, sun's come out. I put it in a frame that I got from Walmart. This was a white frame. It was kind of the only style that I liked. For some reason they don't have black frames, and like, I really wish someone would come out with a line of Halloween frames. If you know of a place that you can buy like cool Halloween frames for stuff like this, let me know, because I would love to know that. But I bought two of these frames, and I just painted them with a paint that I got at Walmart when I was there. It's like this brushed metal color that I literally just slapped onto it. I did not do a careful job of it at all, but I just wanted it to look a little bit more, you know, Halloween-y. And then usually when I finish a cross stitch, I'll give it a soak just to even out the stitches a little bit, and then I will iron it from the wrong side, trying to avoid the actual patterning because you don't want to flatten it. And then I use a acid-free mounting board. I get mine at the fabric store, but you can get it online pretty easily. I think I'll put a link to some in the description below if you're interested. It's really easy. It's just like you peel off the top layer and you can stick your cross stitch right to it, and repositioning it is quite easy. And for the size of cross stitches that I usually make, it works really well for me, and it's worked for the ones that I've had for a few years. They still look great. So I'll cut out the size of mounting board that I need, and then I'll just slap it on there, readjust as necessary, throw in the frame. But yeah, so that's the first one. I hope I saved the pattern. I will leave a link to that in the description below as well. If I did. I don't know if I did. See if I can find it again. But the second finished cross stitch that I finished is a pattern by the Witchy Stitcher. She's the Witchy Stitcher on Instagram and Etsy, and she's got some fantastic spooky patterns. And I chose this one. I actually bought two patterns from her. I just haven't started the second one, and this is honestly probably the fastest that I've ever bought a cross stitch pattern and then finished it. and I'm really, really happy with it. Oh, and another thing I should add, I think the reason I was so into, well, for one, I wanted a change of craft because I find cross stitch quite relaxing when I get around to it. But I also tried dyeing Aida for the first time, so I used just white 18 count Aida, which 18 count is my preferred um, type. And I knew you could dye your own Aida, but I'd never done it before, and I'd bought a couple rolls of an 18 count, just like kind of essentially fat quarters, that I finally just decided to dye. And this one is done with coffee and then a little bit of a liquid Rit dye, and then this one is all liquid Rit. You can go onto YouTube and literally just how do you dye your own Aida, and there's a bunch of tutorials that come up and they're all pretty useful, and it's really not hard at all, and it was so much fun. And now I've bought more as if I'm gonna use all of the Aida that I have. No. But yeah, these are just fun, like, seasonal ones. I want to do a couple Christmas ones as well to go on my shelf after these are, after Halloween has passed. And yeah, I've got a couple more that I want to do, little ones. I got little frames from Michaels, are like yay big, that I want to put like just pumpkin ones in, so got plans for that as well. So I'll have to put those back on my shelf. And I think that is all of my finished objects, if that wasn't enough. So we'll move on to my works in progress. My first one I'll show you is a companion piece to my table runner. It is by the same designer, and it is a table topper. So it's a big square, I think finished size 30.5 inches square. And the pattern I got comes with two different varieties. So it's got a pumpkin themed, like, fall one, and then it has a Christmas themed one with presents. Both of them have stars and such. And I, obviously, because it's fall now, made myself the pumpkin one. And this came together again really, really quick because I needed a project. So I sewed this together the day before yesterday, and I had a lot of the elements, like, they were cut out and like a few pieces were sewn together, but it only took me like 2 or 3 hours to put it together because I needed something that I had to concentrate on because I was getting so distracted by my phone that I wasn't doing my required like sock knitting. So I had this ready, and this is the reason I have quilts cut out a lot of the time. But I whipped it together, and I'm very, very happy with it. I'm really excited to make more of them because when I was trying to pick out the colors for this one, there were so many different versions that I could have made. Like, I want to make a Halloween one, and I want to make one with like pastel pumpkins, and like a soft sort of like, what's it, like cottagey chic cottage, I don't know, you know what I mean though, right? Like with pastel. Why am I saying it like that? Pastel. Sorry. So I want to make a couple different versions, and because it comes together so quickly, I don't think it'll take me that long. Although, I should say, I chose... So this fabric right here was possibly the worst thing I could have chosen for this particular section. It is a glitter linen that I have in my stash. It is gorgeous, and I'm happy that I put it in, like, now that it's done, but it doesn't behave well at all. So trying to put it together accurately was kind of annoying. But I'm really happy with this. If you end up making this, and I kind of hope this would also be another way to get into quilting really easy because it's not very big. You don't have to fight your machine with a whole lap full of fabric. The pattern is written to iron your seams open, and the quilt that I made for my cousin also was iron your seams open, which I did, and it's so annoying. I find it's so much easier to get your seams not matching. So for this one, I knew I didn't really want to do that. So what I chose to do is it's written for, the checkerboard pattern has 3 colors, as checkerboard does. So it comes with white, light, and dark is what they're labeled as. And so what I did for this is I just ironed away from the light blocks. So, like, see here, this is technically the light color. I just ironed all of those open, and they should nest really well. And that really worked for me. I was able to nest all my seams, which makes it so much easier to get your seams to line up. So that's just, you know, hot tip of the day. But I'm really happy with this. I am going to baste it with some fusible batting again. I don't know, I haven't picked the backing yet, but again, it doesn't really matter. I've got a lot of just like muslin fabric that I could use, or some canvas or something. Something that maybe, you know, I don't really care about. I'm also trying not to be too precious with things like this, because I know for a fact that this is going to get stains on it. You know, it's for the kitchen table, and I'm not going to be taking it off the table every time we eat. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, it fits on my table just. Our kitchen's quite big, but our dining area is like minuscule. I don't know how a whole family lived in this house before, but we have a tiny little bar top table that barely fits in there, so this is the perfect size for that. But yeah, I'm hoping to have this done by the next episode, because I really, really like it, and I would not be surprised if I had the next one started. Probably the pastel one. So I think that'd be really cute. Do I need that many? No. Do I want that many? Yes. That way if they get stained, I don't have to worry about it. My next work in progress is something I started just yesterday. And it is a baby sweater, because of course I did. So, for a little context, we went to the Gagetown Fiber Gathering, which is Gagetown is a town, it's this tiny little, very artisan town. It's very cute. They have a lot of pottery shops and fiber folk. So we went there, it's about 40 kilometers away from Fredericton, I think. This was on Saturday, and the only reason I knew it was happening is because I follow a lovely lady named Amanda. She also is under the name Sweet Skein of Mine, and she posted that she was going to be vending there, and she's like the most local dyer to me ever. She lives in the same like subdivision kind of thing of Fredericton, and so she posted that she was going, and it was so close that I was like, I asked my boyfriend if he wanted to go, and he said he would love to, because he hasn't been there in a while, and he wanted to see what it was about. So we went, and it was lovely, and I told myself I wasn't going to buy any yarn, because I didn't need any, but then I got there and saw Amanda's yarn, and I got some, and I told myself that if I did buy some, I had to cast it on right away. So I bought 2 skeins. This is her label. And she's very lovely. So I got 2 skeins of her DK, and it is 100% superwash merino, 240 yards, 125 grams. So it is a heavy DK leaning towards worsted. And I got the color A Roll in the Hay. They're already caked up, but you can still see how deliciously beautiful they are. So I decided I was going to cast on, because 2 skeins of DK is generally enough to make a baby child sweater, as long as they're not too big of a child. So I cast on, I think it's called the Itty Bitty Beekeeper sweater. If that's wrong, I'll put it down below, but it's a pattern by Marie Green, and I think they're under the label Olive Knits. So I just started it last night, so I'm just in the yoke, and it's on too small of a cord, so it's kind of scrunched up. I love how these colors are coming. So I wanted to do something that was mostly plain to show off the color, but with a little bit of detail. And also, when I saw this pattern, it's knit almost entirely in purl stitch, so reverse stockinette, so you're knitting purl almost the entire way. And I really thought that that would showcase the yarn really, really well, so that's why I picked it. Might be annoying later. We'll see. I'm not too fussed about purl stitch, really. Oh, sorry. Cuts for coughing fits, apparently. No, I'm gonna do it again. So yeah, there's not much I'm going to say about this really because it's so fresh. Oh, actually, it's called the Little Bitty Beekeeper because it's got these little. It's kind of hard to see because there is so much detail, but there's these little like bee stitches here. There's that detail around the collar and then some at the hem. So the sleeves are supposed to be knit all in purl stitch as well, but I may cheat and do those from the wrong side because they're all just purl stitch, but we'll see. And I'm knitting it on a 3.75mm needle, and I'm pretty much getting gauge. And it's really lovely. I don't think this will take long at all. And it's really nice to have another baby sweater on the needles. Why do I always do this to myself? But I think this is going to be for my nephew, Axton, because I am going to be knitting his mom a sweater, which I will talk about in a second. And I wanted to be able to send him a sweater at the same time I sent her one. But the only other thing I got at the fiber gathering was this here. It was from a stand called Get Hooked Studio, and I think it's a rug hooking place. But I wanted to get this to make Halloween decorations because it's like kind of like a felted wool type thing, and I think it'll be really handy for that. But yes, I've got one sort of other work in progress before the work in progress that I will be starting for my sister Dana. And it's the planning stages of my Ariana sweater by Amy Christophers. Can never remember. I hear it both ways so many times. So I'm doing practice like swatches of color because I don't know what order I want them to be in. So I've got pardon me. Actually I didn't mention last time. I'm going to be crocheting and knitting it out of Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock Worsted. And I've got quite a few of the different colors here. So first off, my main color that's going to be the background and the button band and everything is going to be this one, which is cast iron. And then the ones I have for the background, I don't know if I have all of the labels because I've had some of this yarn for a while. But I think this one, jeepers. There's this one which is Gray Harbor, I think. And then this one, which is Deep Velvet. I have all of them on 150 gram cakes because they come in either 50 or 150. They didn't have the 150 in this colorway, so I just got that one. And then unfortunately these two I don't have the labels for right now, but I have more of them. I've actually got a sweater quantity in both these colors. I actually pilfered some of the yarn from it. So I've got this creamy white, and then this more stony brown gray. So these are all the colors I have, and again this one will be the main. So I'm just trying to figure out what order I want them to be in. Oop, they'll fall over. So I've made two little swatches so far, and these are probably not going to be the final ones, I don't think. Also, I'm not sure, there's a lot of people who have, they take out the last repeat before doing the main color, because it's supposed to be 5 rounds and then the 6th round is your main color. And a lot of people have taken out that 5th round because they wanted it to be more fitted. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet. But the last time I posted a video, someone did point me in the direction of the podcast It Is a Sarah, who is Sarah. And the podcast that I watched when that was recommended to me, she had just finished her own version of the Ariana sweater, and hers is so beautiful. And she did that, and she also did a few other modifications, taking out some of the blocks underneath the arm to make it less bat-wingy and more fitted. And it looked fantastic on her, but I'm really a big fan of an oversized, but I will probably do the change that she made for her own. But I wholeheartedly recommend her podcast. I'll link that down below as well. She is delightful. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, she lives in the Netherlands, and she posts 2 versions of her podcast, one in Dutch and then one in English. And she's got such amazing energy, and she crochets a lot. So I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do and if I want to copy her or not. But I mean, it's one of those things that I can always add it later. It's not the end of the world. This is not a project that is going to be done quickly. And honestly, it is not my main craft. So if it takes me even longer, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, if you have any opinions or maybe want to see what a block will look like in a different color, let me know, like what order. Give me an order of them and I'll see how that looks as well. It's not much, but it's something. But that's for my active works in progress. I do have something that I will be casting on very, very soon, hopefully on the weekend. And that is going to be for my sister Dana. So back when I finished my Foxberry sweater by Sari Nordland, my sister saw it and absolutely fell in love with it, and she wanted her own. So she asked me if she would be able to make it, because she does knit a bit. She doesn't really have a whole ton of time for it. She's got a 1.5-year-old, so I told her she absolutely would, but if she didn't have the time for it, that I would knit it for her. So she got herself the yarn quite a while ago, and she's just had it in her stash, and I reminded her last month again that if she wanted me to do it for her, or if she got overwhelmed by the pattern, or if she didn't have enough time, I would be very happy to knit it for her. So she decided that yes, it would probably be done, a couple years earlier if I did it for her. So she sent me the yarn that she had bought for it, and it is the Estelle Double Knit. That's the label, and it is the color Q65583. And it is a 50% acrylic, 40% wool, 10% nylon. This is a very affordable yarn if you're looking for something that's hard wearing and affordable. I've knit with this before a long time ago. But she sent me 6 skeins of this yarn in this beautiful color, and I got it and I caked it up, and then I couldn't get together with the fact that I would have to knit the Foxberry again. So I was on Instagram and I saw that Sari had posted like an older picture from one of her older patterns, and it was the Poetry pullover, which is the all over lace version of her. She's got the Poet, and she's actually got a whole range of them, but the Poetry is the one that's all covered in lace. And I hope that one's right. I think it's the Poetry. And I saw that, and I sent it to, I sent the picture to my sister, and she said that it was beautiful, and I asked her if I could knit that one instead, because I didn't want to knit a Foxberry again. And I really want to knit the Poetry sweater, but I don't know if it's something that I would wear myself, so being able to knit it for someone else is like spot on. So yeah, she agreed, and I'm going to be knitting that one right away. And I know that my gauge with Sari's patterns, I know what I have to do with her patterns, so I'll be knitting that very, very soon. That'll be top priority. I haven't knit on any of my other sweater patterns. They're all mostly like either stockinette, garter stitch, or like the broken rib is very easy now that it's at the body from my Friday tee, which I haven't worked on because I haven't had time. So this is going to be really nice to have something that's a little bit more engaging than just knitting or knit purl, whatever. So it'll be really nice to have that. But yeah, I haven't worked on any of my other ones, purely time-wise. I'm really hoping that this next week or two I'll be able to do a little bit more. I'm sorry for the light changing. The sun is going in and out very quickly. It's very gloomy today. But yeah, I'm really hoping to get some of my other stuff finished so I can cast on new things. Because I have, as I've said before, got quite the drive. Gus is crying and asleep over there. But yeah, so as I said before, my shop update will be this Friday, September 16th, 1 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. And I will be having 6 new self-striping colorways going into the shop, and I will show them to you now. So I've got 4 of the pairs finished and 2 of them not quite finished. So first off, it'll be Dusk. And then we've got my hair, Spooky. And then we have Toil and Trouble. Jolene. And then the ones that I haven't quite finished yet are, got a work in progress sample here. There's Folk Art. Oh my gosh, I've got thread overworking for my sewing project. So this one is actually going to be like all factory seconds, grade 1 and 2. So I've got some. So the thing that happened with this one is that I was using a new dye for the red, and there was quite a bit of transfer on some of them from the red to the white. So the white stripes are a little bit pink. So they'll all be factory seconds. So if that doesn't bother you, these will be discounted. And then my last one, which I actually forgot to bring the sample over because it's barely started, will be Bubble Bubble. And I'm really happy with this one. I gotta finish the pair of socks. I've got an obscene amount of socks that I've never worn before. But with those, I will also have the Jolly Holiday mini skein sets. These are the same ones that I'm using for my Friday tea, and the one I used for the Friday tea baby for my nephew last year. And then I will have the coordinating Pale Mushroom. And then I also dyed this new colorway, which is called Marshmallow, and it's just like a paler version of Pale Mushroom. So I find it contrasts a little bit more. And then I also have some more Black Cherry. And then this new one that's called Menthol. And my hair. Again. So yeah, and then as well as those, I kind of went through my my office, because I've got a lot of like random mini skeins from samples and just like collected just really random samples. They're all samples. So I've put together a couple of sock sets where it's going to be 100-gram skein, not self-striping, just like a solid color with a mini skein, and they're going to be listed as mystery sock sets at a very discounted price. It's pretty much a get out of my office price. And then I put together a bunch of mini skein sets as well. I'm going to be calling them stash builders because, again, they will be literally get out of my office price, so very, very affordable. So yeah, that's all that's going to be going into the shop. If you ever have any questions about things that I mentioned in the podcast, please let me know, because I realize after I film something that I kept missing things, which is something I do quite a lot. But I think that's everything. I'm really hoping that these next few weeks I'll be able to get a bunch of stuff done, because after my shop update, I'm taking next week to do some of my holiday sewing stuff for the shop and personal. I want to get a bunch of sewing stuff done. And then next Saturday, my cousin Jennifer is coming to visit me. Quite excited about that. It's been, it'll be a year since I've seen her by then. Actually, it'll be a year since I've seen anyone I know, so that'll be nice. So we're going to spend the weekend together, and then she's traveling elsewhere, so yeah. But then after that, I've got to get into my more holiday dyeing. I've got a couple new colors that I need to knit the samples for, and some of them are already done, but I've got 2 dyed, and I think 1 more that I need to figure out entirely, so that'll be probably an update at the end of October, beginning of November time, but that's far enough away in the future that I don't have to think about it right now as much. But yeah, I'm going to get to doing the last little bits of my shop update work and then goof off, I suppose. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful week and weekend and all that other stuff. I hope fall is giving you good weather, or spring, if that's where you are. But I will see you next time, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!